right, so The Switch is kind of one of those outside the barriers chick flicks. It's still a chick flick, but it's kind of not as much as the very stereotypical written ones. It stars Jennifer Aniston and Jason Bateman, who I'm very big fans of. Well, Jason Bateman at least. It's directed by Josh Gordon and Will Speck. Other than that,
yeah, I looked at their IMDb page. I forget they've done one other movie, but
so this is still them just trying to get a name for themselves.
Yeah,
but it's about two best friends. They're in their 30s, and they're just best friends for a long time, living in New York. And Jennifer Aniston's character said it's time to have a baby. Her biological clock, so she's going to get a sperm donor. And she chooses Patrick Wilson, which we all remember from Hard Candy and stuff. This guy's in everything now, like him. But
he's the go-to pretty boy right now.
Not Bradley.
Which is too bad because I really think that he's actually a better actor than that.
Yeah. So she chooses him as a sperm donor, and while during the donating party thrown by that crazy woman, Juliette Lewis. Yeah. Ugh. Why do they put her in movies?
I don't know.
So she's throwing a party for this sperm donating, and Jason Bateman drunkenly plays with it and loses it.
Yeah.
So he has to refill the cup. Mm-hmm. So then 7 years later, because they get in a fight and she moves back to Ohio to raise the kid, and 7 years later, she comes back to New York, and the kid has a lot of odd similarities to Jason Bateman.
And he's blacked that night out.
But yeah, he was drunk.
So he doesn't even know.
So other than Jeff Goldblum being confided into Diane Lane and something, not Diane Lane.
Oh, Diane Sawyer.
Diane Sawyer.
Yeah.
Not much.
Who plays an integral part in the filling of the cup.
Yeah. So he has no idea the switch happened. So there's this kind of Shakespearean letting things get revealed as they go kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then just kind of unravels from there. I like this movie more than I thought I would. I'm a soon-to-be dad, so there were a lot of moments where he realizes he's a dad, and I got all heartwarmed. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it. But for the most part, kind of a boring movie. Not too interesting to it. And one thing that bugs me is the kid has a lot of psychological things that Jason Bateman's character has. Very neurotic. But these are psychological things, and he's grown up in Ohio, nowhere near his dad. So when he comes and has all these neuroses and stuff, you're like, those are genetic. So apparently, if your father is a neurotic, you're going to be one because that's genetics.
Yeah, and that can be.
Really bugged me. So, but there was a lot of interesting moments between him and the Patrick Wilson character, because the Patrick Wilson thinks it's his kid, so he's trying to bond with him and stuff like that. But he likes Jason Bateman more. And that there's a mountain rock scene where he's having a birthday party. Climbing rock, and it's a birthday party, and the kid abandons Patrick Wilson for Jason Bateman. I almost cried. I was just like, oh, poor Patrick Wilson. He just wants to have his son.
So what did you give it?
I give it I don't know. It's one of those, maybe a B-, because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It touched me in places that
inappropriately
touched me.
I gave it a B- as well, and I think this is what we call a high concept comedy, where somebody runs into the board meeting with a pitch. Here's the pitch: guy switches the sperm, finds out he's a father 7 years later, and I really think that everything about this movie is better than the premise. The acting is actually very good. Jennifer Aniston's just doing the Jennifer Aniston thing, but she seems to be doing it really well. And Jason Bateman and her have really good chemistry. They're almost similar style of actors, male and female counterparts of each other. They should be in more movies together. I think they have good chemistry. Patrick Wilson's really good. Juliette Lewis is terrible.
That's just
what surprised me the most, and what I was really worried about, is when I found out, okay, there's going to be a 7-year-old in this movie, or a 6-year-old, and I'm like, okay, this could really ruin the whole thing. Surprisingly, I think the kid's really good. He's really sweet, very idiosyncratic. That's a lot of part in the character that's written for him. And for the most of the middle stretch, you almost, with him and the kid and Jason Bateman, you almost have like an about a boy kind of feeling. And I think if the movie had ditched the high concept stuff and just, and it kind of does for a good chunk of the movie, sort of puts all that stuff behind it, and it doesn't go into those ridiculous chick flick territories. It actually lets these characters sit comfortably and develop themselves. It really has a very warm and sensitive kind of tone to it that I wasn't expecting. And especially from that horrible two-shot that's on the cover of Jason Bateman actually looking at, you know, the ingredient, and kind of looks like you may drink it. And it just a horribly marketed movie, but I think if go in with the expectations, it's a lot more like movies like About a Boy than, you know, The Ugly Truths or whatever, the When in Rome type comedies. This is actually, I think, a fair movie. I think big problem is the movie comes to a screeching halt at the third act. It needs to wrap up the story. It wants to get that 90-minute mark. And it really could have used another 10 minutes to flesh out the conflict of the story and get to a logical ending. And instead it kind of says, well, we just need to end. So it kind of has a very convenient, you know, nice wrapped up kind of thing. But it's a story where you root for the characters and they actually develop their characters, and I appreciated that for that. So considering the type of high concept